All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be recapping UFC 312. It was the card that happened this past Saturday, and it was a great card, in my opinion. I know a lot of people were very low on the card going into Saturday night. A lot of people were saying that they're right. There was no name value really outside of the top two fights, but overall, I think it actually played out pretty fun. I thought it was a fun night of fights. I thought there were a lot of fun fights. Maybe not as many finishes as we would have liked, but went well for me because I ended up betting a bunch of overs and decision props. So yeah, we'll talk about all the bets in a second. We'll talk about all the fights. I'll be doing separate videos on what's next for the two fighters that won their championship bouts, Wei Li Zhang and Dricus Du Plessis. I'll be doing a separate video for them of who's next because that's a fun topic. But we'll just recap the event. We'll talk about it a little bit, and let's jump right into it. So the first fight was Quillan Salkild versus Anshul Jubli. Salkild, a really, really good prospect that came off of this past season of the Contender Series, a guy who has a really big ceiling in the division, has a lot of talent already, despite only being 8-1 now after that win. And I'm very high on Salkild, but I was also really high on Jubli. He came off of the road to UFC. He won that tournament. I believe that was the first year they did it. And I thought the guy was good. And I still think the guy is good. I just refuse to let it go. But I feel like he really is a good fighter, and I really wanted to see that fight play out because I felt that should Salkild win, should he be the favorite? Yes. Did I feel that the line was way too wide and that it would be a competitive fight? Also, yes. So I ended up having a bet on Jubli plus 500, half a unit, and I did bet the over. So the Jubli bet, I expected to probably lose it. The over, I thought was actually a pretty damn good bet, and I was confident in it, and it didn't even come close. He finished him in like 20 seconds, so that sucked. But it would have been really cool to see that fight play out. I think it would have been a fun fight, but it is what it is. Props to Salkild. He's going places. Was the stoppage early? I think it was a little early. He was on the leg, but at the same time, the way he got dropped and then covered up immediately, I also understand that. So I don't think it was like a horrendous stoppage, but it was a little early in my opinion. But I also am biased. So we can move on though. After that, we had Jonathan Mikulev versus Kevin Jousset. That was a good fight. I was talking about Mikulev all week, saying that he was probably the side at that line, plus 210. I thought the grappling might be there. I thought he would win through grappling if he won. And that's why I stayed away, because I thought maybe Jousset would keep it on the feet. I ended up playing the fight goes to decision instead at minus 130 to win 1 unit. And that did hit. It was a good bet, in my opinion. Never really came close to losing outside of the Mikulev head kick on Jousset in the first round. If you would have told me that Mikulev was going to come out there and not grapple at all and just strike with Jousset, I probably would have bet Jousset because I didn't think that Mikulev could do that. And he did a great job, honestly. His striking looked great. The kicks looked great. Caused a ton of damage on Jousset's body. So great performance from Mikulev. I think he's going places, and I'm excited to see his next fight. Jousset, I don't think he's going anywhere either. He's a good fighter, but it was a good performance from Mikulev. After that, we had Cody Steele making his debut against Rong Zhu. Cody Steele, super hyped up prospect, was undefeated going into the fight. Everybody liked him. He came from the Contender Series, really high level grappling. I was high on him, and I ended up betting him by round 3 or decision. I just thought that he would be able to break Rong Zhu, maybe not necessarily hold him down, but that he would keep throwing him down, and that he would just break him, and then he would be able to strike with him. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, I had a whole spiel about why Cody Steele is not in love with his hands and that he will grapple. And boy, did he not grapple. Barely. I think he shot once or twice. Nothing really. And he was striking with Rong Zhu, which was a terrible game plan. Not one that he was ever going to win, really. Could he have like 1 minute on the feet if he also wrestled? That was my take. But if you told me he was just going to strike with Rong Zhu, probably would have bet Rong Zhu. So probably shouldn't have gotten my hopes up on the grappling, considering he didn't grapple all that much on his Contender Series performance either. And Rong Zhu just had a great performance, was able to stuff the takedown attempt when it did come, and was just able to outstrike him. He was ahead of him the entire time, pretty much. First round looked like Steele was actually doing pretty well on the feet, but then Rong Zhu started to run away with it, hurt Steele multiple times. So great performance from Rong Zhu. He's only 24, and I'm sure Steele is going to also bounce back. He just had to learn. All right, after that, we had Alexander Topuria versus Colby Thickness. That was a fun fight. It was a real show me spot for everybody with Topuria. I thought that he would probably win. He seemed like the more skillful fighter, and I'm sure he picked up a lot of things training with his brother. And because of that, I just decided to pass because I couldn't trust him at minus 400 without knowing anything. I mean, there was 6 minutes of tape since 2015 on him. There's only so much you could take from him. But I did think he was the good, so I passed. I didn't play Colby. I did play over. I played the over 1.5 at minus 112, something like that. And that was a pretty nice cash. Never really came into too much danger. They ended up going all 15 minutes. Topuria showed he is the goods. People are going to say now, oh, he couldn't finish a short notice. They're going to call Colby a bum. He's not, but they will do it. And they're going to say, oh, he couldn't finish him. He sucks. He sucks. He sucks. Nah, Colby's actually a good fighter. I hope they keep him in the UFC because that was only a 1-fight contract. I hope they sign him for a real one. And he is a good fighter. It's just Topuria is legit. Topuria is legit. And I'm really excited to see what he does in the bantamweight weight class. Do I think he could be champion? Maybe. Going to need to see a whole lot more before I can go there. But he seems like the goods. And he's only 29 years old. So he's got time for sure. After that, we had Kong Wang versus Bruna Brazil. Boy, oh boy, did I think Bruna Brazil had a chance. I bet a full unit on her, half a unit at plus 285, another half unit at plus 370, and she never even came close. It seemed like she had no urgency. I don't know if it was just her having no urgency or if I should be giving credit to Kong Wang for, maybe Bruna just didn't know what to do because Kong Wang was so good. That's also possible. At the end of the day, she was outclassed, didn't even really bother grappling. I think she tried once or twice, and bad bet. Kong Wang was value at that price, honestly. So good for Kong Wang. They're going to try to build her up. They're going to try to get her to that title shot because there is some narrative there. It's like the Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira narrative in the female flyweight division because she beat Valentina Shevchenko back in the day in kickboxing, and now she's coming to take the title from the champ. Will Shevchenko still be champ considering she either has to fight Manon next or Wei Li? But I think that's the narrative they're going for. Either way, they want more stars from China, and Kong Wang is definitely going to be a star. After that, we had Tom Nolan versus Vyacheslav Borshev. Man, I really thought Borshev was going to come out there and just cook him on the feet. I thought he would be leagues ahead, and I think he's regressing. People said it all week. I disagreed with them, but I do think he's regressing. He's not as fast, not as powerful. I really feel like Tom Nolan was a fight he should have won, and he was getting taken down by Tom Nolan. Tom Nolan had a few really close sub attempts. Tom Nolan had success on the feet. So did Slava, but it wasn't enough. And Tom Nolan won that fight pretty handedly. Anyone who bet him as an underdog did a good thing. I bet Slava at minus 145 for 2 units. I lost that bet. And look, it is what it is. I thought that he would still be at the level that I expected him to be, and he just isn't anymore. It happens. It's mixed martial arts. Really wears on your body, and age is always a factor. So it is what it is, but I hope Slava sticks around. I know he's 8-5-1 now, not the prettiest record, but he's always a really fun fighter. After that, we had Gabriel Santos versus Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins had his moments, but Santos pulled through. He got that late submission. The grappling was kind of where I gave him a massive edge, and that showed. And he was also the bigger, more physical guy. There was a few shaky moments, but overall, I think he was a good spot. I parlayed him with Drickus, so that bet cashed. Wish I had paid a little bit more attention to maybe the submission props because in hindsight, that was a good spot, but I didn't even think about it. So it is what it is. Really good fight, though. Gabriel Santos is the goods, man. I'm telling you guys, he's going to be at the top of the division. I don't know about champion, but he's going to be at the top, and he's going to have a lot of fun fights. He's a sick fighter. After that, we had Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado to open up the main card. Prado making that jump in weight to welterweight. I said all week, I do not understand why he's doing it. I get that he's young and maybe he thinks that's his future, but like, come on, he's too small. He's way too small for 170. He just is. And that was proven on Saturday night, because if he really filled into the weight class and was as powerful as everyone made him out to be, he probably would have at least hurt Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews wasn't even phased by his punches. There wasn't enough behind them. And he was throwing some big shots, but it's just and he even got the fight he needed, right? His best case scenario was Jake Matthews not wrestling because Prado's wrestling isn't that good. And I thought Matthews would wrestle once again. I was wrong for trusting him to do that, but still, he just outclassed Prado on the feet. And it was that simple. It was a clear decision win for him. I cashed the decision bet on him, plus 120 for one unit. And yeah, I really think Prado should reconsider. He looked healthy. He looked big, strong, ripped, but He's just too small. And like, even if he got through Matthews, right? And Matthews is a guy who's in what, the top 20? I don't think he's ranked, but he's probably up there. Like, if he beat him, he's probably going for maybe one more fight than the top 15 fight. He'd get cooked by these guys. Even Neil Magny, I think, would be a nightmare for Prado. Like, I don't know who you give him. Who do you give him to get wins at 170? They're too big for him. Can you imagine him and Kevin Holland? Or him and Sean Brady? Or him and Michael Morales? Or Bilal? Or Shafkat? Or Ian Gary? MVP? Like, whoever is in his corner needs to be like, it's just not a viable weight class. I understand weight cutting sucks. I used to do it. I used to cut a good 20 pounds a season, but it's just like, I don't know how you make it work. Back in the day, yeah, you could be a short, stocky welterweight and be champion. There were plenty, but at his size, it's not enough. Maybe he just needs more time and get really thick, like Sean Brady thick. Maybe then it could be viable, but right now, I think he's making a mistake for his career, especially because he's 22. Like, when you're younger, it's easier. It gets harder as you get older. It's only going to get harder to cut weight later. Like, go get some wins at 155, build the experience, and then slowly build into 170. I just think it was a massive mistake. I talked about it all week, and I think that was proven during that fight. After that, we had Jimmy Crute versus Rodolfo Bellato. I thought that my bet was a great bet going into the fight. Fight ends by KO, plus 100, 1 unit on it. I thought that was definitely more than a 50% chance of one of them getting knocked out. And honestly, came close in the first round. Crute almost, but not enough. And then it ends up being a damn draw of all things. Crute's second draw in what, like 3 fights? So bananas. But it was a fun fight. They went back and forth. It was a close one. Arguments to be made for both guys, but ultimately, I think draw was the correct scorecard. And yeah, it is what it is with the fight ends by KO bet. It's probably one I would make again. The way they fought, I'd probably make that bet again at the same odds. But in this iteration of the fight, didn't work out. We can move on. Next up, we had Talison Teixeira versus Justin Tafa. At least my Teixeira read was good. I was like, this guy is just going to be different. He's gigantic, way more athletic. Like, he does have the grappling upside. I understand people are like, he never grapples. Yes, I know. But just having that jiu-jitsu black belt and then at a close line as one of my factors, it definitely means quite a bit. Like, knowing that if Tafa gets into some kind of weird situation with him, that it's a possibility that can happen. Whereas with Tafa, you don't have any sense of that upside. There's just not going to be a sub on that side. So for me, it mattered. The size mattered. The speed mattered. The fact that he could fight long mattered. The fact that Tafa is, he's performed well against only the bottom of the barrel competition. To me, minus 130 seemed like a gift, and it did end up being a gift. He ran right through him, knee to the elbow to the face, and just took him out of there. Teixeira is going to be someone to watch out for. Obviously, there's still a ton of questions. What is he going to look like in round 2, round 3? Can he go all 15? What happens when someone tries to grapple him? What happens when someone good tries to grapple him? What happens when he fights a Cyril Gane, who manages range? A lot of question marks, but they got time to build him up. And at heavyweight, there's no middle in the heavyweight division anymore. They cut them all. Alexander Romanov cut. They just cut another one. I forget who. They're just cutting all of them. So there's no like middle ground in the heavyweight division. You just either have the bottom of the barrel, and then you have the top few. Like, oh yeah, they just cut Rosenstruck. For what reason, I don't know. But at the top, obviously, you got Jones, Aspinall, Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov. I would say Jonathan Almeida, even Curtis Blades. Like, those are the top guys. And then you have the bottom of the barrel, don't have to name them, but regardless, you've got a lot of fights you can give to Talison to build them up, and I think they will. I don't think they're going to rush him, because look what happened to Rebellas didn't even get rushed, though. He just lost to guys because they wrestled. Hopefully Teixeira is not like that. So far, to me, he seems like he's got more potential than somebody like Rebellas did. So let's see what happens. But I'm really excited about him, and that was a good win. So then we had the first title fight, the co-main event, Weili Zhang versus Tatiana Suarez. There was all this talk pre-fight about this injury that happened during camp or something. It was going around everywhere, and the line dropped like crazy. Went to Tatiana, I think, capped out at like minus 150. It was like plus 130 on Weili. I already had a unit on the money line at plus 108, I think, or plus 102, and I had fight goes at plus 108 each for one unit. And I was going to add when I saw the line movement, but then I got nervous hearing all the noise from everybody. And Suarez is a scary wrestler. So talked myself out of adding anything else. I just said, leave my 2 units and just let it go. And then Weili just beats her up completely. Maybe dropped the first round, but after that, she stuffed every single takedown after the first that she gave up. She got her own takedowns, beat her up on the feet, beat her up on the ground. I don't think there's anybody in this division for her. I'm going to do a different video for this, like I said, but what a performance. What an insane performance. Weili's no one, I don't think anyone's dethroning her in this weight class. And Suarez, I don't know what you do with Suarez now. Like, she could fight back to a title shot easily. Easily. She beats pretty much everybody else in the division. It's just she doesn't really have much time left in her career. She's very inactive. I don't know if that's in the cards for her. Like, this might have been it. So we'll see what happens. I would love for her to keep fighting because, like I said, I can easily see Suarez back in a title shot like this. But I just don't know where she's at with the career. And then we had the main event. We had Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. I had Dricus to close out the parlay with Gabriel Santos. And going into the fight, I thought to myself, and I said this on my pods, on paper, realistically, logically, that line was stupid. Because, we have to judge lines based on what we know. And what we knew was that the first fight was incredibly close. I felt like Dricus won. Sean won, despite me having a bet on Dricus in that first one. And nothing really changed. Dricus had the fight with Izzy, and he won. That was a good performance. Was it really even good? He was running headfirst into the ground, but he got the win. And then Sean had a Sean Strickland win over Paulo Costa, where he just did his thing. It was boring, but he got the job done. So nothing really changed. So logically, should Dricus all of a sudden have been minus 2 something? Probably not. But at the end of the day, for me, I said it, like, he just gets it done. The guy gets it done. He is different. He's a different athlete. He's extremely athletic, extremely powerful. The cardio is incredibly weird, looks bad, but is good. And he just gets it done. The guy's got the drive to win, and it makes up for any weirdness of his technique. And honestly, he looked pretty on point against Strickland. He barely grappled, beat him up on the feet, broke his nose, made him uncomfortable. Strickland, he did have the staff. I don't know how much that played into it, but to me, Strickland just didn't change anything about his game. Dricus brought it this time a little bit harder than he did the first, and he won pretty much every round. So for me, it's a good performance by Dricus. Going to do another video for what's next for him. But for Sean, I don't know. There's some good fights for Sean to be made that are still money fights. You can make Sean Adesanya too. I know Adesanya said he wants a break for a little bit, but after, make that fight. I think that's a good fight. Who else is there in middleweight for Sean? I'd have to look because otherwise they're going to start using him to build prospects, and that seems kind of quick, but it's the fight game. Either way, great main event. In my opinion, fun card. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.